O'clock. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. Before we get started, we are going to make this meeting as quick as we can. There is a meeting following this, and we're supposed to vacate the room by 5 o'clock. So we'll move some of the agenda items around a little bit, as well as move quickly through the items that are on your agenda. So if I could ask Maggie if she would lead us in the invocation.
Lord, we thank you for this time together here today. We especially ask for your presence in a time of stress for people, that you'll be with us in our deliberations, and that everything we decide today will be in according with your will. We also ask that you will keep the people of this community safe and help us all support each other. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Maggie. All right, item number 1 is the Visitors and Citizens Forum. So any citizen with business not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the Economic Improvement Corporation. No deliberation or action can be taken on these items because the Open Meetings Act requires an item be posted on an agenda 72 hours before the meeting. Visitors are asked to limit their presentation to 3 minutes. I don't have any cards. Do we have any visitors to speak today? All right, I see none, so we are going to move item number 4, which is the public hearing. We're going to move it now as in front of item number 2. So we'll, and I hope I do this right, this is a public hearing, so I will go ahead and move to open the public hearing. It is 4:01. Who will be presenting on behalf? Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Per the last session, you directed staff to go ahead and start drafting a funding agreement, which has been done and is attached with your packet. However, funding for the architecture services and portable buildings will also be needed for the duration of the renovation. As such, the Doyle Community Center has increased their EIC request from $400,000 at the February meeting to $500,000 to cover these additional costs. And so that is all indicated in the funding agreement. And at this point, I'd like to go ahead and introduce Kay Talley-Foes with the Doyle Community Center, who will go ahead and make the presentation.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me again. Let me see, let me get schooled on this time. We have the 3 recent partnerships that have drastically improved Doyle services to the community, with Schreiner University, the City of Kerrville, with the Neighborhood Development Plan, and a Health Professional Collaboratives winning a Build Health grant. At the center, the After School Kids Club has been staffed by Schreiner students. We've been able to build the staff to offer health services such as screenings and healthcare navigation, and evening programs are offered for families and adults. Now that COVID-19 is creating uncertainty, of course, the relationship with Peterson Health via the Build Health grant will prove to be valuable to our residents. The Neighborhood Development Plan was created by hearing from the neighborhood and meetings at Doyle. Information and updates are disseminated through Doyle, and the NET program in April is based at Doyle. The building is aged to the tipping point of sustainability. We propose to make changes, or to unsustainability. We propose to make changes to the building that will improve the efficiency and safety of the building while creating more effective uses of space and maintaining the historical integrity of the structure. Since we have received the grants from the Peterson and the Stevens Foundation, I think last time I was here, Peterson was still pending, and we did receive the $200,000. We have contacted Peter Lewis to begin the process of drawings, engineering, and taking bids. We hope to start the renovation early in the fall, if all goes well. The Build Health grant has some funds directed to improvements in the Doyle, particularly the HVAC system and the kitchen. There are also funds to improve technology, and this grant will pay for staffing and building improvements, technology, and setting up office space. To update you, at this point, we have hired 5 new full-time employees, and all have started except one, who will start next week. We have 1 more position to fill. The hours that Doyle is opened have increased, with a coffee and conversation time in the mornings that will begin next week. Now that Shriner students have gone home with the threat of COVID-19, we will have to make new plans for how to serve the kids in the neighborhood. We will be working this week to figure the best way to do so. We know that school meal programs will be missed, that quality supervision will be missed, that digital learning that is offered by the schools may be out of reach for some of our residents. All of these issues are better faced with the added staffing that we already have. Recently, the Perry and Ruby Stevens Charitable Foundation granted Doyle the $200,000, and then the Hal and Charlie Peterson have granted us $200,000. Additionally, the Stevens and Peterson Foundations have combined to add $72,000 for staffing the facility manager, outreach coordinator, and custodian. We have also applied for a Maybe Foundation grant that would finish off the phase 3 and 4. We have not heard back from them, but we'll soon. We've also applied for a Healthy Cities funding for $50,000 for an on-site food bank. So things are moving. They're, just since we saw you a month ago, it's really, our activities have increased. The most current estimates for the renovations are separated into the 2 phases, above and below ceiling. All these items will improve security, efficiency, and historical integrity. Some of the issues that are occurring now for Doyle have to do with the constant repurposing done during the time KISD owned the building. Cords, disabled fire alarm systems, disabled phone systems, and bell systems all hang from the walls and ceilings. The HVAC system is simply old and inefficient. We've been nursing them along since 1994. The building's temperature is rarely comfortable. The biggest security issue is the front entrance was removed and made into storage, so there is no central entrance. This creates security issues since the many doors are difficult to monitor. The front door on Barnett Street will be reestablished and other doors made to be locked except for emergency egress. The rest of phase 2 will make the restrooms accessible and ADA compliant and complete the rewiring of the building, along with the aesthetic improvements. They spoke before I got up here that we were seeking some additional funding. We realized how much shorter we could make the renovation period if we could move out of the building. And we have priced temporary buildings at the cost of $60,000 for a 7-month period. We hope to be starting by early August, and ending by the end of February. The cost for architectural and engineering services has come in at about $80,000. So we're asking that these 2 costs not negatively impact the scope of our program, or scope of the project. So we're asking that $100,000 be added to our request. On behalf of Doyle's Board of Directors and the residents of the neighborhood, I thank you for your attention and consideration of this request. We believe that because this request will lift up the residents of the neighborhood, it will be good for Kerrville. The Doyle is the hub of the neighborhood. Renovating it to overcome efficiency and safety issues will make it so that we can offer more programs that address health, vocational training, food scarcity, and transportation issues that this neighborhood faces. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Questions?
I'd like to ask, the architectural fees of $80,000, were you, in your prior request, were you assuming those were gonna be donated so you wouldn't incur those, or?
We did, and it was partly a rookie mistake. I mean, it was just, this thing has been so long coming, and I mean, really, I would have to say, it was a rookie mistake.
Okay.
So we don't intend to make any more of those.
So the total additional cost you're now anticipating is $140,000 with the portable buildings.
Right.
Where are you gonna get the other $40,000?
There's some that will be built, that's kind of built into that Healthy Cities grant. There's some, we believe that what's built in with the Build Health grant, that we'll be able to use some of those monies. And we may end up doing some fundraising. I mean, that's, but we felt like $100,000 was really the number that felt most comfortable asking.
And so some of the Build Health grant can go to the actual structure and not just be used for operations, is it?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Each year for 3 years. There's a larger sum of about $95,000 in the first year, and then some other smaller renovation monies in the second year 2. And it's a 2.5-year grant, so year 2 and year 2.5.
And then last thing I have to ask is, how comfortable are you with your construction cost estimates? Are you sure there's not something, you know, what kind of assurance can you give us that you think those numbers are gonna be good?
You know, everyone tells me it's always more than you think it's gonna be.
Yeah.
That's my biggest nerves. I mean, if I'm standing here saying, am I sure? I know that we've been over those numbers over many years, many times. And so I feel like we've had a chance to find where they could be wrong. We've been in the attic, we've been everywhere. You know, it's, I guess, especially with these uncertain economy now, that it wasn't even that way last month. We're gonna do our best.
Have you had someone look at these numbers? I mean, some
Yeah.
builder or
Yes.
the architect has helped you with coming up with your costs here?
Yes. Carson Conklin at JM Low and Rustin Zuber, is that his first name? Have both gone over those pretty specifically within the last 6 months. I think Carson did it last November and Rustin here recently in the last month and a half.
Okay.
Kay, do y'all have a contingency built into your budget?
We do not have a, I don't think. Somebody help me out. Is there anybody? No. No one's got my back on that question. I do not believe there's specifically contingency built in.
So the numbers I get in adding up phases 1 and 2, the architecture and the temporary buildings, comes out to about 976,000. And if you've got 400 committed and the EIC gives you 500, you're still gonna be short 76. Is that within your fundraising capacity?
It
you
is
think?
because we have 95 is in the first year of the Build Health. I don't think you said that number. When I walked in here, I felt like we had $900,000 with the 400.
Okay.
And so I feel
Yeah,
like
no, I wasn't counting that.
okay, when the 100 gets added in, we're close to that crazy number that I can't even get my head around called $1 million. So.
Any other questions?
None for me.
All right, we have several who want to speak on behalf of this topic. So again, we are short of time. Please limit your time to at least 3 minutes apiece. And so, Ms. Talifus, you want to talk again, or was this just for your presentation?
This was just for,
Okay.
now they've got my back.
Okay, good. All right, Karen Maddox.
Good afternoon. My name is Karen Maddox. I am a Kerrville native. I attended the University of Texas. I grew up in the Doyle community. I currently attend church there, next door to the Doyle Center. And I am really excited about the opportunity to be working in the community and assisting the residents there. And this project and the renovations are something that has been a long time coming. It's really needed because Doyle is the center of the community, and it, I'm going to say, deserves and needs the upgrades and renovations called for. Thank you.
Thank you. Katie Gibbons.
Hi, I am the new Hope for Health project manager for this project serving the Doyle community, and I want to express my sincere thanks to everyone here for your support so far of the $400,000 and additional consideration of $100,000 to fully renovate the center. As you know, through the dedicated work of a volunteer-run board of directors and half-time facility managers over the last decade, the Doyle Center has housed programs serving around 1,000 people annually. With the recent influx of funding and all the community partnerships that have been formed, we are now positioned to provide needed services addressing food scarcity, transportation, and health access for Doyle residents. The renovations to the center are not only going to provide a safer and more efficient space for all the services to be administered, but we do anticipate the number of residents served to double or even triple over the next years. The possibilities are truly endless, and we thank you for coming alongside us. We are starting to have our coffee and conversation next week, Tuesday to Friday, 9 to 11. We'd love to share with any of you what's going on and the progress that's been made so far. And Steve Poutler from the hospital could not make it today because of
He's
his-
here.
I did not want to speak on behalf. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Katie. Reverend Alan Noah?
Good afternoon. As a resident and pastor in the community, I work with the Doyle School for the past 6 years and trying to get this grant approved. So I commend the council in making this decision in consideration of the collaborative efforts with the city and the Beal project and the amount of resources that are being brought to the table. I think $500,000 is a small amount of money to secure the future of this community and these residents, and to make this project something that would change lives for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Brenda Fudge?
Hi, I'm Brenda Fudge, Executive Director for New Hope Counseling Center. New Hope has the privilege of being the lead nonprofit for this Build Health Challenge Award. As you know, we were the only one out of 18 across the whole United States to receive this award. And I could talk to you for days about this, but I know I have just a little bit of time, so I have my notes to follow. And anyway, my mind wanders, and at this age, it could leave me completely, so I'm going to stay on track. To paraphrase Winston Churchill, the best asset a country can have is healthy citizens. And is that ever more meaningful to us today in the midst of the coronavirus? So as this Hope for Health collaborative started taking shape to help improve community health, we originally had a group of a core of 7 partners. That number has now grown to an additional 8 partnerships and an advisory board of 7 more. And I have high hopes that we have 1 more partner coming on soon. So it's especially meaningful that all of you as leaders of Kerrville are showing additional support and funding to remodel the Doyle Center as it becomes the hub for serving the Doyle neighborhood, focused on physical and mental health, transportation, and food. From the beginning, Teresa Standage, I don't think she's here today, but she can confirm that we felt God's hands in guiding this project from the beginning. And y'all, it took almost 11 months of 2019 from start to finish for this, to receive this award. So 1 Timothy 6:18, if I may share with you, tell them to do good, to be rich in the good things they do, to be generous and share with others. So thank you all for stepping out to share and do good in such a generous way. And when we all have more time, stop by and talk with me anytime at New Hope. Visit Katie and the team at Coffee Talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Clifton Pfeiffer Jr.?
Good afternoon. My name is Clifton Pfeiffer. Now, there's a quote, God does not give us what we can handle, but God helps us handle what he's given. I'd like to thank the EIC committee for your generosity and the gifts that you've given the Doyle Community Center. So how can you say thanks to a city, a community who've reached out in brotherly love and who's reached out to make a difference and to help Kerrville become one? How can you say thank you to the many different organizations, the EIC, Hope for Health, Peterson Hospital, the Stevens Foundation, the Peterson Foundation, who has shown a great desire to help through their giving? I found over the years the best way to say thank you is just simply to say thank you.
Thank you. Steve Falter?
Good afternoon. I'm grateful for the break in the coronavirus planning. My name is Steve Powtler. I'm Chief Operating Officer of Peterson Health, and I've been here for 11 years. Unlike most of these folks, I didn't grow up here, but I did get here as fast as I could. I'm pleased to offer my support and the organization's ongoing commitment to the health of everyone in our community, which in Peterson Health's angle is well over $300,000 in cash, in-kind donation, and medical care over the next 2.5 years, and we expect to be ongoing after that. In this instance, the project to refurbish the Doyle School Center is a particularly promising effort to promote the health and well-being of an at-risk part of our city. Recent research has shown that access to medical care is only a small part of the social determinants of health, and that other elements such as employment, income, education, housing, race, and gender are all far more determinative of the likelihood of having healthy people in a particular community. That's one of the reasons why we're in the BUILD grant, and we want to help rebuild the heart of the neighborhood and significantly improve the chances for the connection to education, constructive socialization, nutrition, and healthcare. Without this support, our neighbors and friends will miss the opportunities that are available to many others in our community. Right now, right here, we've got a chance to improve lives. At Peterson Health, our mission is exceptional, compassionate, patient-centered care, and to promote health, avoid disability and disease, and support the best possible environment for health and long life meets our mission and helps heal our community. We're proud to support this effort. We're committed to building together with everyone in our community, and thank you for the opportunity to help our neighbors. And Katie, I'm sorry I cheated you out of the rest of your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's all the papers that I have, or cards that I have, so anyone else want to speak? Very good. Any further questions from the board? All right, I'll go ahead and close the public meeting. It is 4:21. So we have a decision to make with regard to the get the proper name here on the front of it. So, to the funding agreement that is in your packet. We have a couple of ways to do that. If you have more questions that you want to ask, we can certainly take this to executive session. Or we can make a motion to approve the funding agreement as it's written. Your call.
I want to make a motion that we approve.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of that motion, raise your right hand. And that motion carries unanimously. All right. Congratulations. You're more than happy, or more than welcome to listen to the rest of the meeting. And I know you may have places to go and things to do, so you're welcome to leave at your leisure. All right, moving on to item number 2 in the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes of the January 13th, 2020 meeting and the February 17th, 2020 meeting. Those are in your packets.
I move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes as written? Well, let me back up. Do you have any additions or changes to the minutes?
There's just one typo, Kenneth, on the January 13th meeting, page 2, item 4, executive session. It has Aaron Young. I think they meant Aaron Yates, probably. So.
Okay.
Even though I might be the youngest member.
Hey.
You have to bring that up.
Oh, that's great. I'd take the young and run.
I'm in my motion to match the correction.
So we have a motion to approve with that correction
Second.
and a second. And we're doing both sets of minutes, by the way. All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand. And that motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item number 3A, which are our monthly financials. They're in your packet as well.
Good afternoon. I'm going to go through this briefly with y'all. This is a financial update for the month ended February 29th. And we're looking at sales tax received in February. So I'm looking at the third column over year-to-date actual and also the current period right next to that. EIC received sales tax of $394,000 in February. That represents sales tax collected for sales made in December. It was the largest sales tax payment ever received by the city. So on a year-to-date basis, we're up 5.07% compared to the prior year, and we're also coming in better than budget. However, moving on to the next graph. A global economic downturn would have the potential to significantly impact sales tax. I wanted to give you a little bit of context of what happened in the Great Recession. This is obviously a different situation, and we won't see the lag that we saw here before it hits Kerrville. But anyway, during that time period, we saw sales tax fall 7.9%. So I just wanted to give y'all some assurance that even, you know, in a significant downturn, 7.9% was the amount of the decrease that we saw. So if we looked at like a 10% decrease in sales tax, that would be approximately $370,000 worth of decrease, and would still mean $3.3 million in annual sales tax revenue. And looking at the cash flow forecast, I've added some more projections out through a portion of 2021, so you have a 12-month period to look at here. I want to caution that these 2021 projections, this is not your budget. You haven't said anything, you haven't approved anything, but it is helpful to look at a cash flow forecast on, you know, a little bit longer term basis. So I put in some projections here. Of course, I was doing this on Thursday of last week, and you know, things have changed significantly since then. But right now, this assumes a 2% increase, a 2% growth in sales tax. So it assumes our budget for the year 2020, and then 2% increase into the next year. I'm looking at the column that ends the year 2020, and you can see that right now we're projecting a ending balance of just over $2 million in cash at the end of 2020. Looking at sales tax, as you know, it's a 2-month delay. So, you know, what we're thinking right now is that next month will be fine. We've already had those sales. The month of May, that represents March sales, we may see an increase there because of all the people prepping for, you know, this situation that we're in right now. And so the month of June could be the first month that we see a significant decline in sales tax. Just to give you a couple of scenarios, I was doing some scenario analysis on this. If sales tax fell by 33% from the June through September period to finish out this fiscal year, those months, you know, that would be a huge decrease. But we'd still be looking at a $1.6 million ending balance. That does not include the $500,000 to Doyle that was just approved. But, you know, even with that included, it'd still be over $1 million. So just wanted to give y'all some assurance that there are funds available for what you just approved. If sales tax fell by 20% in the last 4 months of the year, June through September, we'd be looking at 1.8 million as an ending balance. So kind of a few different scenarios to look at. On the project expense side, I did want to make sure y'all were aware of some large project payments that we made during the month of February. So we did make the $600,000 payment to Arcadia after they had provided all the documentation required. The other project commitments that are still out there and that you'll see on this cash flow forecast are project payments to Thompson Drive Partners and the airport. And those haven't come in quite as quick as the last cash flow forecast that we had projected. So I have them still on the forecast, just pushed out a little bit. So I could go into some more detail. I know we're trying to get done kind of quickly here, but so I think it might be easiest if I just answered any questions you have at this point.
Questions?
The Shrine River Trail, when's the next payment for that coming due? Not this year.
We've paid all of the
It's all paid.
Shriner River Trail.
So
Yes.
it's all paid.
It's all paid. So the remaining project commitments, up here on the top left-hand portion of your screen, what we have left is Thompson Drive and Airport, and then now, Doyle. And I'll add Doyle next month. But Arcadia is now paid in full, and, Shriner River Trail is paid in full as well.
Amy, you did good to give us a little projection on potential dips. Appreciate that.
Yes, well, I'm sure I'll have more information next month, so more to come.
Moving target.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
you. All right, moving on to item number 3B, which is a projects update. Yeah.
Provide in the nature of time, a very quick update. Essentially, you've got 9 or 10 projects that are active right now. Those are all moving along good. We've had a few weather delays given some of the rains we've had over this last month. In particular, I wanted to update you on one project, specifically the downtown streetscape project. We did receive bids and informed you last time that we received bids and we were in the process of evaluating those. Based off where those bids came in, and where the budget is, essentially the project is able to fund the base bid amount, which is the streetscape components that are along the street level, as well as the roadway, and some awning work, but it does not cover the mural component of that. So, and we really did not get, those were bid as alternates. We didn't get good bids from the sign subcontractors. So we're continuing to work with the sign subcontractors to look at various options. We may look at a design build option in the future, but we are carrying that base bid component for authorization forward to the city council anticipated for next Tuesday. So just want to let you guys know that. In the nature of time, we'll go into more detail about projects at the next meeting, unless you have any questions.
No. Thank you very much. All right, 3C is our monthly update from Kerr Economic Development Corporation. Gil?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'll keep it real brief, super brief. So on Project SkyMaster, we have received a second site visit from the company that were here last week. So they continue to work on their due diligence, and they're now starting to get more into the final details of what the project's going to look like as far as an incentive scenario and what have you. One of the good signs was that they started asking about taking them around to go visit some of the local apartment complexes and housing developments or houses as well. And that usually means that it's in the latter parts of the site selection process. So whenever they're going to start moving in, people from out of town, they want to know where they're going to be living. Now, switching gears here quickly on the coronavirus, at the local level, as far as small business, we've already started receiving some phone calls in our office as of Friday and then this morning as well. And what they're asking is, one, is there any certainty as far as what exactly is going to happen with the economy at the national level? And then it was followed with, is there going to be any kind of bailout money at any kind of level? Our response has been, not that we know of, not yet, but I'm sure at some point in time, the EDOs are going to be notified that there's going to be money coming in. If it gets declared as a disaster recovery effort, there's going to be some federal funding of some sort. So that signals, or that tells us that the local business community is starting to feel the pressure, and that correlates with what Amy was talking about as far as sales tax revenue and what have you. At the KDC, we are now, as a result of everything that's going on, we are participating in the coming days on a conference call with the International Economic Development Council, the Trade Association for Economic Developers. So it's going to be with the IEDC, and it was by invite only, as well as some of the major EDOs in the country, now to start discussing next steps as far as our respective communities prepare to what is to come as far as this particular virus is coming around, and also start figuring out what some of our contingency plans and what that's going to start looking like. Because we've never experienced anything like this before. So again, we're now starting to prepare for that. What's interesting now is that what Austin and San Francisco have done in the past, having this remote workers, now that's become part of the solution, as we're starting to see a lot of companies opt for that because of the situation that we're in. So again, we're now going to start seeing more of that. So our message to the local businesses is that we're going to continue to keep them abreast of any developments as it pertains to the national economy and how that pertains to what's going to happen at the local level and what that particular impact is going to mean for their particular businesses. That was my 1 minute wrap up. Any questions?
Questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is an executive session. We have 2 items in there, and you can see the parts of the section that qualify for those 2 items. So I'd be looking for a motion to move to go into executive session.
I'll move we go into executive session under section 551.071, 072, and 087 to discuss the Skymaster and workforce housing.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, raise your right hand. And we are in executive session at 4:35. All right, we'll go back into regular session. It is 4:53. Again, nothing, no action being taken from anything discussed in executive session today. Any items for future agendas? Anyone? Any announcements? All right, we are adjourned.